Hello students, welcome to the class. I hope that the previous lecture had helped you to solve your doubts and concepts related to the inheritance and your misconception about that these topics are very difficult. I hope you are very clear with the inheritance of one gene, the Mendel's law of inheritance. First one is the law of dominance, second is law of segregation, incomplete dominance, codominance. Now we'll talk about inheritance of two genes. Mendel also worked with and crossed pea plants that differed in two characters. Green, that is between a plant that has seeds with yellow color and round shape, and the one that has seeds with green color and wrinkle shape. You can see with the help of this capital R stands for round and it is dominant gene or dominant allele. Capital Y shows the phenotype yellow, which is also a dominant allele. So this gene codes for the round and yellow colored seed. The next is small r, which is wrinkled, and small y, green, which shows that this is the recessive character that will appear. Now we'll prepare a cross. This is the parent generation with capital R and capital Y, which is crossed with the recessive small r and small y. The gametes that are formed is one from here and one from here. That is R and Y, round and yellow. Here same gametes formed are one R from here and one Y from here, forming wrinkled and round shaped seeds. So in the F1 generation, the progeny that will be obtained will be of this genotype. Capital R, capital Y, small y, with the phenotype round and yellow colored seeds, which is similar to the phenotype of the parent generation, that is round and yellow. Selfing between round and yellow progeny of the F1 generation will produce gametes as capital R, capital Y, small r, capital Y, capital R, small y, and small r and small y. Same is the preparation of gamete with the second parent. This gamete will result in formation of a Punnett square. Now we'll understand with the help of a Punnett square. These are the gametes that are produced by, say, for male, and these are the gametes that are produced by the female. So with the help of a Punnett square, we can determine the genotype or phenotype of the F2 generation very easily. As we have studied earlier how to prepare Punnett square, same is the case with the dihybrid cross. Just the difference is here, instead of one trait, that is height, we have considered two traits, that is seed color and seed shape. So let's understand. This is capital R, capital Y. So this will be capital R, capital Y. Same is with capital R, small r, capital Y. Again same capital R, small y and capital R. So this way the whole Punnett square is constructed. You can construct this at your own, at your home, and can tell you how this can be prepared, and you can also determine the genotype as well as phenotypic ratio with the help of this Punnett square. Now the phenotypic ratio is round yellow is to round green is to wrinkled yellow is to wrinkled green. That is, the ratio would be 9:3:3:1. For your better understanding, even I have wrote the phenotype of each and every genotype that we have obtained in this Punnett square. This R and capital Y denotes round and yellow. So wherever there is a presence of capital letter, that indicates the dominant trait. Wherever there is a only presence of small letter, that indicates the recessive trait only. So in this case also, will obtain the ratio of 9:3:3:1. I have prepared the phenotypic ratio for each and every genotype that is provided in the Punnett square, and this will help you to understand more easily the concept of phenotype and genotype. Now you can construct on your own the Punnett square and verify your phenotype with that genotype. Now we'll talk about law of independent assortment. In a dihybrid cross, the phenotypes round yellow, wrinkled yellow, green round and wrinkled green are in the ratio of 9:3:3:1. Such ratio was observed for several pairs of characters that Mendel studied. In the ratio of 9:3:3:1, as derived as a combination of series 3, you can write this 9:3 as 3:1. 9 into 3, 3 into 3 is 9, 3 into 1 is 3. So this 9:3 can be written as 3:1, and this 3:1 ratio is as it is. So for 3 yellow and 1 green, 3 round and 1 wrinkled. Based upon the observation on dihybrid cross, Mendel proposed a law that we called as law of independent assortment. This law states that when a pair of traits are combined in a hybrid, segregation of one pair of character is independent of the other pair of characters. What this states is when a cross is made between round and yellow seed with the wrinkled and green seed, there is no in-between combination, that is no combination of yellow and green, that is blue color seed is observed. Whereas same is the case with seed shape. No half seed with wrinkled or half round is obtained. So each pair of trait having a particular allele is independently segregated. This is slightly different from the law of segregation, which is for monohybrid cross. Okay, from here you can observe that this is a dominant allele for round and this is wrinkled. 50% will have this dominant and 50% will have this recessive. Same is the case with yellow and green. 50% seeds will have yellow color and 50% seeds will have green color. In a case of dihybrid cross, each gamete having either R or small r, it should also have the other allele Y or small y. As we are considering a dihybrid cross, that is why two traits, round and color, seed shape and seed color, are to be taken into consideration together. The segregation of 50% of the R and 50% of the small r is independent from the segregation of 50% of capital Y and the other 50% has small y. So we'll form the gametes like this. 50% of capital R bearing gamete will have capital Y. 50% of the capital R bearing gamete will have small y. 50% of the small r bearing gamete has capital Y, and 50% of the small r bearing gamete has small y. Thus, 4 pair of gametes can be formed: capital R with capital Y, capital R with small y, small r with capital Y, and small r with small y, each of which contribute to 25%. How 25%? 1/4. How 1/4? Each of them have a different phenotype. This will result in round and yellow. This will result in round and green. This will result in wrinkled and yellow. And this will result in wrinkled and green. So 1/4 for each gamete formed. Now we'll talk about the chromosomal theory of inheritance. As I have earlier told you that Mendel's work on inheritance of characters was published in 1865, but it was remained unrecognized for several years. Later, his work was discovered by 3 scientists, Hugo de Vries, Carl Correns and Erich Schermach. Why it was unrecognized? The reason behind it was Earlier, the communication was not easy in those days and his work could not be widely publicized. Earlier, nowadays, like today, when a researcher researches something related to his work, he can directly publish it by any authorized journals. But earlier time, it was to be sent to the Royal Society of London, where they used to deal with that research and they used to go thoroughly through that research, and then after many years of communication and transportation, it has to be approved by the Royal Society of London. First was the reason why his work was unrecognized was that the communication was not easy in those days as compared to now. Second was his concept of genes or factors as stable and discrete unit that control the expression of traits of the pair of alleles which do not blend with each other was not accepted by many of the biologists. His law of independent assortment as well as law of segregation was not accepted by many of the biologists of that time. Third reason was the Mendel's approach of using mathematics to explain biological phenomena was very new and unacceptable to many biologists. Since Mendel was the first to use statistical as well as mathematical approach to explain biological phenomena, it was totally new to most biologists and was generally not acceptable by them. In the 1900s, Mendel's work was rediscovered by the three scientists Hugo de Vries, Carl Gorentz and Erich Schermat. By this time, due to the advancement in microscopy, scientists were able to carefully observe cell division. This led to the discovery of chromosomes. Now student, let me give you a very good example how to differentiate between chromosomes, DNA and genes. Just imagine that there is a shelf of books with the partition in between and the books kept in them. So the DNA is the shelf that is present in your bookshelves, or the partitions that are present in the bookshelf is your DNA. The whole bookshelf is your chromosomes, and the books that are present in the bookshelf are the genes. I hope with this bookshelf example, it will be very easy for you to distinguish between DNA, chromosome and what are genes. Genes are the segment of the DNA that is responsible for expressing certain trait. Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri noted that behavior of chromosome was parallel to the behavior of gene and used chromosomal movement to explain Mendel's law. Later, Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri, two scientists, noted that the chromosomes behave in the same manner as the genes, and he used the approach to explain Mendel's law with the help of chromosome movement. You have already crossed across mitosis and meiosis. What is mitosis? Mitosis is an equational division. That means the two-end diploid organism will result in two-end daughter cells. Two two-end daughter cells. Whereas meiosis is a reductional division. In meiosis, the two-end individual will result in 4 haploid cells. Okay? So, in this mitosis, during anaphase, the homologous chromosomes separate out from each other at the two opposite poles. Whereas in meiosis, during meiosis 1, the homologous pairs of chromosome separate at opposite poles, and during the meiosis 2, the sister chromatid of each chromosome gets separated, resulting into 4 haploid nuclei or 4 haploid cell. Chromosomes as well as genes occur in pairs. As you already know that chromosomes are always present in pair, similar is the case with the genes. The two alleles of a gene pair are located on homologous sites on homologous chromosome. Both the allele of a gene are located at homologous sites on homologous chromosome. Homologous chromosome can be defined as, like, if this is your one chromosome, The pair that is present with this is the another chromosome. These two are together as homologous chromosomes, and the genes are present on the homologous pairs of homologous chromosome. One will be the dominant and the other will be the recessive pair. Now we'll talk about the comparison between gene and chromosome. Both of them occur in pair. Genes segregate at gamete formation only, and one of each pair is transmitted to a gamete, whereas chromosomes segregate at the time of gamete formation such that only one of each pair is transmitted to a gamete. One pair segregate independently of the other pair. Independent pairs segregate independently of each other. Sutton and Boveri argued that the pairing and the separation of a pair of chromosomes would lead to the segregation of a pair of factors that they carried. Segregation of a chromosome, as I said, they are present on the chromosome, homologous chromosome at homologous site. Segregation of this chromosome will result in segregation of the factors that they carried. Sutton united the knowledge of chromosome segregation with Mendelian principle and called it as chromosomal theory of inheritance. So what did the Sutton do is, he segregated the chromosomal theory along with the Mendelian principle and called this theory as chromosomal theory of inheritance. Experimental verification was done by Thomas Hunt Morgan. Another scientist, that is Thomas Hunt Morgan, his student Stuart Wundt. He studied linkage and recombination widely under his guidance. So Thomas Hunt Morgan led to the discovery of the basis of variation that sexual reproduction produce. Due to sexual reproduction, as we have earlier noted that variation, the cause of variation is the sexual reproduction. Because of this sexual reproduction, there are chances of variation, where these chances of variations are more in meiosis during the formation of crossing over between homologous chromosomes. Morgan worked with fruit fly, which is also called as Drosophila melanogaster. Students, make sure that this scientific name should be written in the same manner as I have written. Capital letter of the first letter of the genus should be capital, whereas the second of the species should be small, and this whole word should be underlined. This is the idealized way of writing a scientific name. What made the Drosophila melanogaster as a model organism to study genetics, linkage and recombination? What are the characteristics that it is the choice of model for the scientists? These characteristics are: it can be grown easily in the laboratory on a simple synthetic medium, completes its life cycle within about 2 weeks, produce large number of progenies, can be easily distinguishable between male and female. It is easily distinguishable between male and female partners. Variation can be seen with low power microscopes. You can see small variation with the help of a low power microscope easily while using Drosophila melanogaster. Students, extensive studies have been done on Drosophila melanogaster related to genetics, and it is one of the best and the model organism studying used for genetics. Now, this was all about inheritance of two genes and the chromosomal theory of inheritance, law of independent assortment. In the next class, we'll talk about linkage and recombination, mutations, chromosomal disorders, genetic disorders. Thank you. I hope this will help you to understand the concept very clearly and be thorough with your concepts. Be clear with phenotype and genotype, how to form a gamete, how F1 generation is produced, how F2 generation is produced, what are the contributions of different scientists in different fields of science. This all should be very clear to you, as this is very important from the exam as well as NEET point of view. This chapter will be very beneficial for your NEET. So thank you. I hope you will be continuing, and be safe at your home, and Utilize your time very efficiently. Thank you. Thanks a lot.